There's a common misconception that those who are in college had it easy in high school. Yeah, that's not true. Trust me, I've had it different. My road to college wasn't easy. Back in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, to my sophomore year, I was riding a bus and riding my bike to school, about 8 miles away from where I lived. You guys may ask, why would I do that? Well, because I felt as though Roseville, the school that I go to, had a bit of a better education system than St. Paul. No offense to any of you guys out there who go to St. Paul schools or Minneapolis schools. I just felt that personally. Well, that bus ride at early in the morning at 13, just imagine it, just think of this with me. At 13 years old, on that bus, having to get up at 6 o'clock and to be on a bus by 6:36. Just make it to school at 8:05. That there is a huge commitment coming from a 13-year-old in 7th grade. But like I was saying, just imagine this with me. Being on that bus early in the morning with older people. No, you don't know any of the faces. Some people you might recognize from being on a bus almost every day. But it was just different for me to be out there with a bunch of older people. That's on my first bus that I took to school. My second bus that I had to get on, that was in the downtown area where the homeless people lived. And they were getting kicked out of Dorothy Day Center, which is a homeless shelter, to go find a job or just to go out somewhere. So they would come and sleep on the buses. That right there was already uncomfortable to sit there with a person that you have no idea. But then they also had a very rancid smell. They smelled like feet and like they haven't bathed for a few days. It was just very uncomfortable. And then they would try to talk to you. Remember, I'm only 13 going through this. And then having to ride your bike early in the morning on the cold mornings, biking 8 miles, feeling that air hit you in the face, your eyes start to water because it's so cold outside. It's not fun. And having cars honk at you because you're on the road. Nobody's respectful, especially during rush hour. That's when I was biking around rush hour. People were not respectful to you during rush hour. But during that time, I made connections with people. From my freshman year all the way up to my senior year, I made connections with counselors, teachers, principals, anyone I could that I could make connections with. I did it. I utilized it. Little did I know that I'm going to need them my senior year. My senior year of high school, around November, I became homeless. I ended up living in a motel that smelled like cigarettes, Marlboro cigarettes and Camel cigarettes. It didn't smell the best. And on top of that, late night, when you're sleeping in there, it's very, very cold. So I would make the attempt to stay at the high school as long as I could so I wouldn't have to go to the motel. I didn't feel comfortable there. There were 2 beds in there, 2 queen-size beds. The beds had flowers on them. You guys know what I'm talking about, yeah. And my aunt slept on one with her twins. My grandma slept on the other with my younger aunt. Where was I, you might ask? I was on the floor by the TV that played all night. It was cold, no heat. So I made a fort. Yes, I made a fort. That fort was made to consume some heat. The heat that I made, the heat that I used was from a blow dryer. At night, I would lay under the fort, turn the blow dryer on, and just sleep with it on all night. That's not fun, trust me. It may be better than being out on the street, but it still wasn't fun. I utilized my connections to do what I had to do. I ended up living with a friend for a little bit for the rest of my senior year, just so I could make it through high school easily. Remember, I use what I can to persevere through all of my situations. I didn't use those as an excuse to drop out of high school. I stayed in school the whole time. So you guys out there, you guys need to find those people that help you. They're not going to come to you. You go find them. You go speak to them. There may be teachers out there in the crowd with you guys. You go speak to those teachers. They're not just going to come to you. Life isn't handed to you. You have to work hard. And at times that it may seem too hard, Just look at it this way. Life is like a mountain. You're climbing that mountain. It may be very difficult. But once you get to the top of that mountain, the view that you will see out there will be unbearable. It'll be amazing. You won't know what to do with it. Just look at it that way. Once it gets too hard, just say, the view I'm going to have after this, amazing, unbelievable, shocking.